Khan here, 4 seconds out with the one and only trainer Shane McGuigan ahead of...
That's some introduction.
I'll give you something, I can't just go into it without an introduction. Shane, we're ahead of Chris Billam-Smith versus Mateusz Masternak, defending his title this time round. There's a question that I quite liked on the podium, and it said, has Chris Billam-Smith changed in any sort of way now that he's got the title? He doesn't seem like the type that would do, but there's an old cliche that says that you get a bit extra confidence. He's now the head of the gym in the sense from the boxer's perspective. Has he changed at all?
We've got a group chat, and by the way, he's not changed at all. He's a completely grounded, humble human, and I think his wife Maia keeps him humble, and so does his, as he said, changing nappies. That's another, from someone that knows, it's a humbling experience constantly doing that. So, but he definitely carries himself with confidence, and I think not that he didn't, but I say we keep sending around this meme of like Ron Burgundy going like, I don't know if you know, but I'm kind of a big deal, and I just randomly send it into the group because it's funny because he's made one or two comments that's like. I said, God, why have you got so much clothes? He goes, I can't help it that I keep getting sent all these clothes. And I was like, oh, all right. It was quite funny. But yeah, he definitely loves a freebie now, and I think he's relishing that. But he's earned it, And in terms of boxing, though, no, absolutely not. He knows that he's happy that he's achieved that dream, but he's worked his whole entire life to do it. And the naysay, I think almost it's like, if you're not set out to do it and you work so hard to get there, you're definitely not going to give it up. You're really not. You're not going to change. Your mindset isn't going to change. If you've always been told, like a Nassim Hamid, oh, you're so special, you're amazing, king of the gym, like most talented kid in the gym. And that's could have gone to any single gym in the country and been the most talented kid in the gym. Puncher of either hand, elusive, reactive. When you then win a world title, then you're like, well, I know I'm this great, and the money comes in because that's what we do in this game. You put all the money into the talented kids, and you put all the emphasis on that, and then they start losing their shit because they just feel like they've achieved stuff, even though they're very far off their true potential. So that it's a long-winded answer to say no, he hasn't changed, but he has in terms of getting free shit.
It's good to get to know Chris Billam-Smith more and see him come out of his shell a bit more now that he's won the world title too, and get that spotlight he deserves as well too. It was an active goal, a progressive goal to guide Chris towards the world title. Now that goal's been received or delivered, what's the trainer's goal for him next? Defending the title for sure, but getting those unifications, potentially moving forward to heavyweight. What's the goal there?
I don't think Chris will ever go up to heavyweight, and I would advise he doesn't. With the way he fights, not that I'm sure he could mix it for sure. It's just I want him to get out of this business with his faculties intact and money in the bank. And I think also if it's so important that he keeps setting new goals. And this. He knows that this is a huge fight in its own right because he's dealing with a guy that, that's probably tougher than him. He's gone into every fight to think like, do you know what? I know I'm physically tougher than Lawrence Okoli. Like I'm tougher mentally, physically tougher than Isaac Chamberlain. I'm going to grind him down, and I'm a bigger man than Zhojai. And he's been getting confidence. Whereas he's looking at this thinking, I might be bigger, but I'm definitely not tougher than Masternak. I'm going to have to bring something new here. I can't just grind this guy down and lean on him and try and shorten my range and hit him with phases because it's like hitting a brick wall. So he's going to have to do something different. So he has to set small term goals basically, short term. My brain's gone. Short term goals because that's where you got to be at this stage. It's like when you get to world level, you can't be thinking 3-5 years down the line. You've got to be thinking, all right, we've got to fight in 10 weeks time or 8 weeks time. Like I need to win that. Whatever we make another goal once we get there, because every single fight at this level is an absolute hard handful fight.
In terms of the goal for this specific fight with Masternak, I asked Chris and said to him, look, not been stopped in a long time. Is that an active goal for yourself? He said it's always a goal for me, but how does he do that? Is it a fight where, like you said, you mentioned there that he's a tough fighter, maybe tougher than him. He's got to break him down to get that stoppage if he really wants it.
Yeah, I think there will be an opportunity to stop Masternak, but he can't go out there looking for it. Everyone tries to hit him up top, and I'm not going to say that we're going to just target the body, but he keeps himself in fantastic shape. He's, I think I'm sure shots bounce off him, but you just keep chipping away. You just got to keep chipping away, and you got to keep busy. The speed advantage lies with Chris, and I think the variety lies with Chris. The fact that he can throw combinations that aren't necessarily taught. Masternak is that big one too. Ba-bum, steps in and then he kind of rakes a long left hook. He throws lots of punches because he's happy to leave his head on the line. But it's just one of them ones that you got to be properly on your A game and try and make your attributes count. And I think that's something that we're going to be working towards.
It's like surprising in the sense that he is fighting Masternak and not Lawrence Okoli. I imagine there maybe was broadcast pressures in terms of Lawrence Okoli in the fight that they had the first time round. Maybe the position Lawrence is in right now added that to that too. But in your own words or understanding, why is it not Lawrence that he's rematched?
I can't speak on the broadcaster's behalf nor the promoter's behalf. I can just say that we were happy to box Lawrence Okoli next. It wasn't an issue from our end, and I don't know what's going on with Lawrence. I just said it on a previous interview that I wish him well, and we are scheduled to box him at some stage. And we, to be honest, I would have liked to have taken that fight right next. So might be the next one after this. I mean, it's looking like it could be, and I don't know why they didn't do it. Whether he wasn't ready or Chris wasn't ready or what. Everything else is hypothetical. I don't know the real reasons. So that's a question for somebody else. But we were ready to go, and we wanted to box again before Christmas, and we couldn't get the outdoor arena. We couldn't get the Vitality Stadium. We had to go indoors, which is 4,000. I mean, it did 2,500 on the pre-sales in one day, and they said that it could have sold it out. So it's the full sale today. But financially, when you can't sell that extra bit of tickets and stuff, you have to make it up in other areas. So yeah, it's just down to who's putting the show on.
Nevertheless, Chris is a wanted man. Lawrence Okoli wants him. Masternak wants him. Jai Apataya has been calling his name there as well. A potential target for the future too?
Definitely. I think that one might be a bit harder with the platforms. But he's got to be seen, I think, as the number one in the division at the moment, Jai Apataya, because he beat Bradis. And I think if he boxes Bradis again and beats him again, I think that's looking likely. Then you've got to say that he is the rightful owner of the Ring magazine belt, which is kind of like the overriding one of the other governing bodies. So very good opponent, but for now he's not on our sites, only because we've got a deal to do. We've got a fight that we've got to go through with, and then we've probably got one after that we're going to have to adhere to, and then definitely if we both keep winning, then it just sets up a huge fight down the line.
Petijon is in your sights for Adam Azim. Thankfully, it's not on the same night as it was last time round in London. But Adam Azim looking to put on a good performance against Petijon for the European title.
Definitely, we've got a fantastic sparring at the moment. We got Paddy Donovan and his cousin Jim Donovan in for sparring, two very good southpaws. So really, really well prepared for this fight. Everything's gone to plan. His weight's on perfect target. Not that his weight's ever been an issue, but sometimes, is he so young and light, he burns calories like crazy. I think sometimes, you've got to keep them slightly heavier to get through the training, because that's the injuries come when your body's depleted. So yeah, it's all gone to plan, and I think he's going to put on a fantastic performance, and really excited about Adam's next fight. It's really he's come under a bit of stick recently because of his last two gone the distance, but those are two very different fighters. But one was a sharp counter punch, the other guy was absolute nails. So I'm really excited to see someone that's going to actually stand with Adam and throw punches in that mid to short range. And that's what we want. And obviously, look, take the European title away. This is a fantastic fight for Adam's development. It just so happens that we got the European title as a gift at the end of it.
You would like him to fight for the British title, age permitting, though.
The British title.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 21 now, isn't he? Yeah. So is it 23 that you have to be?
22.
Oh, okay. I thought it was. Yeah. Dalton Smith's the champion over there. I just think, it's a very similar situation that we had when we had Carl Frampton and Scott Quigg. It was really hard to justify that fight for a British title. Yes, George Groves versus James DeGale did it, and Chris Smith versus Richard Rackball wasn't for the British title, but it should have been, because obviously he went on to win it afterwards. So it's just I feel like you don't get many dance partners, especially domestic ones, and I think Dalton Smith and Adam Azim is genuinely a super fight in a year's time or two, a year and a half's time. Hopefully they both get the exposure, they get the wins, and they get the trajectory, and we can make something of it. But for now, it'll be sat as a back burner, and if that means that we have to bypass the British title, then we bypass it. We'll be the European champion on November the 18th or November the 19th. And look at what we did with Josh Taylor. Like, he didn't box for the British title. He didn't box for the European title. But he then was a unified world champion with me, and then went on to be undisputed. So, you don't always have to go that route, but it is a nice route to go.
On a topic to touch on, it's a big one. It's sent a bit of shockwaves throughout the boxing industry as a whole in combat sports. That being Fury versus Ngannou. Set the table for me, Shane, before we go into it a little bit further. What did you see on the night between Fury? What did you see from the output of Ngannou?
I felt whilst watching it, I haven't watched it back, I felt that Ngannou won, but I can completely see the argument to say that he didn't because of the activity of him. But it's coming from a guy that's having his first professional fight against the best heavyweight on paper right now. Personally, I think Fury is slightly on the decline. He hasn't had a very competitive fight since Wilder, and even he hasn't had a very good performance since the second Wilder fight. The second Wilder fight was a brilliant performance for him. Third one, he got hit too much. Yeah, he got off the canvas and done the job. Dylan White, it's not elite world level. It's not the top boys, and Derek Chisora far from the top boys. So, if you actually look at it and break it down that way, it's like you can understand why he didn't look the best. And I think he potentially might be on the slide. But yeah, as I said, like Ngannou didn't know how to pace the fight. If he'd have had one or two more fights beforehand, even 10 rounds, he would have known that. Okay, I'll start to apply the pressure here. I know what this feels like. They can. It's a completely different sport. It's like they can take rests. They can rest their leg. They can go to the ground. If they're good on the ground, or it's a slightly. Boxing's more of like a continuous intensity. That's more like, okay, you've got half hit someone, then you can get to the ground. It's more explosive, in bursts. So yeah, I was shocked, to be honest. I was shocked at the way that Ngannou approached himself. But I remember, I think I listened to Teddy Atlas talking about Ngannou, saying that he felt that if he had started boxing in the 17 or 20 years old or whatever, he would have been a world champion. He definitely would have been a very, very good fighter because he was athletic and he could pick up on things. And that like heavyweight boxing is much less about skill. It's much more about physicality and attributes, and it's a slower pace. But if you've got a great chin that Ngannou's got, if you've got unbelievable power, and you've got a little bit of speed, which he does, like you put all those three ingredients together, you've got yourself an absolute handful of a fighter. But I've also just said in another interview that if you put someone like Zhilei Zhang in front of Ngannou, because he's bigger than him, and he's an incredibly hard puncher, I think someone like him might knock him out. But hypothetical, of course. But styles make fights, and they especially do when you got a guy like him.
Someone firmly entrenched in boxing as yourself, like I said, it's mentioned, it's shocked always being sent through the sport. Was it an embarrassment? What happened? Can we go as far as that? Is this just it's just a fight? That's what happens in heavyweight boxing.
not an embarrassment. Of course, it's not. I mean, like, I just don't think like, I just don't think, I just don't think Tyson Fury is the right boxer of our roster to box Ngannou. You know, as I said, I think like someone like Deontay Wilder probably would have teed him up and finished him, but. Yeah, it's hard to stomach because us as avid fans and we're there, you know, we're so proud of our world champions and we're so proud of our sport, and it's like, you know, and then you got a guy that's having his debut that's beat the guy that's, you know, proclaimed to be the best heavyweight on the planet. You can see why it is embarrassing, but you can also understand why anything can happen in the heavyweight division, and he was well skilled.
That's a couple, Shane. I'll put it into one total question. First of all, has it changed your mind what happened at the weekend in terms of what happens in Fury versus Usyk? And also, would you like to see Ngannou in fights against Wilder and AJ, and how would they go if those two did materialise?
I think I would love to see Ngannou in competitive fights. One, because I really hope he gets paid the most amount of money. He's inherited a hell of a lot of boxing fans now because he held himself really well. He didn't get really bitchy after the fight. You know, yeah, he said one or two things, but that was you know, more than fair. And you know, he's a likable character. You know, he's just grafted his whole life, and you know, success is coming to him late on in his life, and I hope he does. I hope he makes the most amount of money he can possibly make, and that will be with the guys like AJ. I would stay away from Wilder. And I would try and potentially get the Fury fight again, because it's so much question marks there that, you know, he doesn't want to get knocked out and then not get that fight again. You know, he should almost take someone that's like slightly lower level, that's got a little bit of vulnerabilities. Not saying that AJ is, but AJ is a huge money fight for him. So like, that's a massive money fight. Fury's a massive money fight. So yeah, I just think I think he should get himself back out in the mix and then look for a rematch or potentially AJ.
Really good conversation. Appreciate it. Thanks for speaking to SecondsOut, sir.